One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Lesley Irvine. Lesley is the Director of Athletics at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges. Greetings, Lesley. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, hi, Ty. Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here also. Now, there at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges, you're hired as the first full-time Director of Athletics in almost 20 years, around 15 years or something along those lines. Hired to reshape, rebuild, and recommit to culture in the athletics program back in 2015. We're coming up on 3 years now, and the athletics program has proven to be very successful under your leadership. I'll give you a list of a few things. I'm sure you know this, but you guys won the Men's Conference Cup title, 16 conference titles, and that's in the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. You won 3 national championships. You led the SCIAC conference in number of all academic athletes in 2016 and 17. And there, as the athletics director, you created an annual fund and negotiated a multi-year deal, kind of a direct sponsorship with Nike. Now, you're no stranger to winning, as you were part of a Big Ten championship field hockey team back in the late 90s. Can you tell us about your approach to developing the culture and your leadership there at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges, specifically in, you're coming in as a first full-time AD in a long time. And can you talk to us how you developed that culture and leadership?
Yeah, Ty, and thanks for summarizing it because it's fun to listen to. I think there isn't a day goes by where I don't rely on my coaching experience. I was proud to have been a former Division I coach for 10 years, and I think as I approached this challenge, I did what many coaches will do, and you think about your strategy, and you think about where your time is best spent, and you think about your values and the people that you're working with, and then the culture you're trying to develop. And I think I'm fortunate to have a great team here that allows me to be intentionally focused in a couple of areas, and so I probably spend a disproportionate amount of time working in admissions and recruiting and fundraising, because I think those are key areas that can really have high impact. And then like I said, I have a team who do an awesome job on a lot of the internal stuff to make sure the department's running really smoothly. And so I think much of it has been the strategy around the recruitment of the student athletes and the talent that we're able to attract here. And then otherwise, it's making sure that your time and your resources are spent in ways that support the goals and support the culture. And it's been, building really strong relationships with the coaches that I work with the student athletes, with SAC, and certainly with my colleagues on both of the campuses who were really excited about the direction that we were heading. And I think about that, since my arrival, they've been so eager to partner with us and work with us, and that's been a lot of fun to make sure that at the end of the day, I think one of my prouder achievements is to help the institutions realize what athletics can do as a vehicle for the institutions, and that they're just a really important part of the educational experience, and that's that's something that we all know, but I think we talk more about it at the Division III level, is athletics being just a huge part of that educational experience, and that's why we're doing it.
Right. Well, there's something to say, of course, as many athletic directors and coaches do. You mentioned recruiting talent, and you got to have good players to win, but there's something to say about creating a culture in an organization that allows that talent to thrive. Things like creating an annual fund. That's just not opening up a bank account or making a big investment. Like, you had to convince a number of people, specifically with the 2 college system you have there, that, hey, we need to create this fund to support athletics. Can you talk to us about the process of when you came in with these ideas and helping people understand why certain things were necessary to deal with Nike, the annual fund, and those type of things?
I felt that there was some anticipation for my arrival around people just really being willing to work with me and knowing that I was bringing some best practice to the campus. And so some of the things that we were thinking about, it was essentially, hey, let's start to do some of these things that are happening at other institutions, and not necessarily Division I to Division III, but I think more and more now at the Division III level, there's conversations around revenue generation, and whether that's through admissions and not so much here, but through sponsorship or through fundraising. It's just that type of trickle down is happening. I think what was really cool about what you're referring to as the annual fund, it's funny, we never talk about it as an annual fund, and I think that that's really important, is we called it the Champions of Sage Hen Athletics. And what it actually became was a vehicle for the people who were excited about this commitment to a culture of excellence for athletics. That's what they were giving to. That's what they were supporting. And so we created so much momentum on campus, and people were excited, and then we started to highlight that, and we started to get a little more success. And so essentially, we never refer to it as a fund. We refer to it as a culture, and we refer to it as this commitment. And that has made it very successful. And what has been fantastic about it is both of our advancement departments have been really excited about it as well, because I think it's really helped overall the college engage their alumni. So it hasn't been counterintuitive to the campus's advancement goals. It has certainly helped, and that's been a really, really fun experience. And so there was a vehicle to give to athletics. What we essentially did was we branded it and elevated it and connected it to the success that we were having. And that really, and with simple things, we added a button on our website that says, here, click here to support champions. And so just raising the visibility, it shouldn't be difficult. If you're an alum of an athletic program and that you're moved to give, it shouldn't be a complicated process to do that. You should be able to go online and figure out how to do that pretty quickly. And so that's been some of our thinking, and we've been really successful. It's been really fun.
Right, the simplicity of making it easy, right, is what it sounds like. Can you give us just a little bit about the Nike sponsorship? Did you approach them? Like, how did that come about?
It was one of the first things I noticed when I arrived, and I'm sure many of my colleagues can attest to this as well, is we were just all across the board in terms of colors that we were using and the brands that we were using and the logos that I was seeing. And so that was immediately one of the things we thought, gosh, this is low-hanging fruit. We should take a look at this. And we had a couple of connections, basically, of people that we knew at Nike. And so kind of between the connections we had, between the goals that we had as a department, and then we were able to connect with Nike, and we were excited to partner with them. And it was huge. I mean, our department got on board, which I was really excited about, because sometimes those transitions can be hard. And we were able to get some funding early on through a grant that allowed us to do a full apparel reset, which was great as well. So we didn't have to wait a couple of years to see the benefits. I mean, we essentially became dressed in Nike overnight for that next following year.
Right, next year show up in new duds, huh? That's cool.
And it just keeps giving. I mean, it was really a cool thing. I knew it was going to be important, but it has helped tremendously around our visibility, our campus pride, and our unity. One of my favorite stories was one of my friends was at San Jose Airport, and she had spotted the Sage Hen football team who were on their way, I think, to Rhodes, and they were all kitted out in their Nike, and she's like, Lesley, look at this picture. Your team looks so sharp. And it just reminds you that when your teams are traveling, they're almost like walking billboards through, across the country as they're moving, and it was really kind of a cool moment.
Now, you're in a unique situation there. The Pomona College and Pitzer College are two different academic institutions, and the athletics department is combined to make one, and that's Sage Hen Athletics. Can you give us some insight on that setup and how that works, how it come about, and how that works with leading the student athletes there?
Yeah, it is really unique, and I love it. It definitely creates a unique challenge. I mean, so Pomona College, Pitzer College, 2 of the 5 undergraduate schools here as part of the Claremont Colleges, the other 3 schools being Claremont, Scripps, and Harvey Mudd, who make up CMS Athletics. So you've got this really unique rivalry between Pomona Pitzer and then CMS. And dividing those campuses is 6th Street. And so what's really cool is we literally walk to those games. And there's an incredible rivalry. You think about, say, some of our home basketball games, we'll have about 2,000 students show up for those games. And so it's really, really cool. But yeah, so the way we approach it, about 25% of our student athletes are Pitzer College students. And so as we've thought about it, you have to intentionally understand that we're serving students from 2 institutions. And so it's a lot of meetings, and it's a lot of intentional use of time because, of course, for instance, if we're partnering with student affairs to support our students here at Pomona, then we are doing the same thing at Pitzer. We're going to those student affairs meetings at Pitzer as well. If we're doing a marketing initiative here, then we need to be thinking about a marketing initiative there because essentially Sage Hen Athletics is one entity, but it's serving 2 institutions, so they may be looking at things differently. Same with admissions, thinking about having a process, but one that works for both institutions as well. So it's a lot of fun, and we talk a lot, the consortium, around collaborating and the importance of collaborating. And I think if you're not a natural collaborator, it would probably be a tough challenge here because it's really taught me the art of communication, forward thinking, and getting people on board before you kind of move forward. It's a fun exercise.
Now, Lesley, I do have one final question for you. Your background was primarily in Division I. You were a Division I athlete. You coached on the Division I level, and you worked in the athletics department at a Division I institution. Then you took the director of athletics job there at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges, which is Division III. Can you give us some insight into your thought process on taking the job in a Division III when most of your experience was in a Division I? Really just advice for people who are working in athletics, working their way up in career enhancement?
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things I would think about. The first thing is just understanding what you value, what's important to you as a leader. As I transitioned from Division I to Division III, some people were surprised. A lot of people asked me about that sidestep. But for the people who know me know I grew up in the United Kingdom. I did my undergraduate work in England, and if you're a good athlete there and you're going to college, the college athletic process is very different, and then it's treated a lot like club. And so the student athlete, student being first model, is something that I grew up with, and that it's just a real core part of my philosophy is academics first, but then this pursuit of academic and athletic excellence, which I truly believe go hand in hand. So that speaks to some of my core values. And so as you're thinking about where you want to be a leader, I think making sure you align with an institution that speaks to those values. For me, wanting to be at an institution that is aspirational and looking to be better, looking to be in a growth stage was really important to me as well. And then I think, the other piece is just recognizing that we're in an industry that we love. We are fortunate to work in an environment that many people play, and I'm passionate about it, and understand that you've got to be willing to grind. It is because it is a passion. It's not a 9-to-5 job, and I talk to a lot of people about that. It's a lifestyle, and that's a choice, and I feel really fortunate to be doing this as a job. So I think those are the things I would share.
Well, Lesley, this has been excellent information, and I think there are a number of things you mentioned that people can gather information from and talk about leadership and relationships with people around campus, and specifically about that unique setup you have there at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges. Thank you very much for joining us on One Question.
Thanks, Ty. Thank you.
That was Lesley Irvine. She's a director of athletics at Pomona and Pitzer Colleges. And this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.